back to English Classes Online. My name is Benjamin. Today's video is on analyzing non-African drama in the West African Senior School Certificate Examination. Our focus will be on Fences by August Wilson. If you are new to this channel, kindly subscribe to the channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. Click on the bell icon as well, so that whenever a new video is uploaded on the channel, you will be notified instantly. Without much ado, let's dive into the lesson. First, a look at the agenda for today's episode. Number 1, the title and its significance. 2, the setting of the play. 3, an overview of the play. 4, characterization. 5, themes. 6, conflict and suspense. And 7, denouement. Let's start with the title and its significance. August Wilson's play Fences is about an African-American garbage collector named Troy Maxwell and his family, and the fences they decide to build around their home. The fences they build symbolize the relationships that members of the family share with one another. When fences are built around the house, they serve as barriers to keep those inside the house safe and also to prevent intruders from invading the house from outside. As observed by Bono, Troy's friend, some people build fences to keep people out, and other people build fences to keep people in. Rose wants to hold on to you all. She loves you. You will find this statement by Bono in Act 2. As we can see, the fences mean different things to different members of the family. While Rose wants the fences as a means of protecting her family from invaders, Troy sees the fences as a means of keeping his son Corey out, especially when the conflict between them gets to a climax. Fences can be seen as a metaphor to represent the life and actions of Troy and the barriers he creates between him and other members of his family through his betrayal. The barrier he creates between him and his wife occurs through his relationship with another woman who eventually dies while giving birth to his child. When he brings the baby home and needs his wife's help in nursing the baby, his wife Rose reluctantly agrees to take care of the baby, but announces that from that moment on, she ceases to be his woman. That means from that moment onwards, Rose distances herself from Troy. That the intimate relationship between husband and wife stops from that moment. So it's like a kind of fence is built between them. A barrier is formed between them. And that was caused by Troy's betrayal. Now, the barrier Troy creates between him and his son Corey occurs through his refusal to allow Corey to pursue his dream career in football. You know, Troy had a bitter experience when he wanted to pursue a career in baseball, and he was hindered by racial discrimination. Now, based on that experience, he prevented his son from pursuing his career in football, probably fearing that his son might have a similar experience. But this causes a very serious conflict between two of them. Now, this barrier is worsened when Troy physically sends his son packing from the family house. So at that moment that Troy sends Corey out of the house, then when the gate is locked and the fence is standing. That, of course, keeps Corey out of the house. All right? All the crises in Troy's family can also be seen as the effects of the barriers or fences, if you like, created by racism in the larger American society, which have shattered his Troy's dreams and hindered him from realizing his potential. So you can see the significance of the title Fences, and of course, you know, the family spend almost the duration of the play building fences, and so the fences in the play titled Fences actually presents a very significant symbol. It is a metaphor. It represents, you know, barriers, you know, things that cause barriers in between members of the family. All right. So, and those fences can be seen as those things that really cause the crisis that, you know, that trouble the entire family. Now let's look at the setting of the play. The play is set in America in the 1950s, and it portrays the effects of racism on the lives and families of African Americans living in the American society during that sad period of American history. Don't forget that America had an ugly past, a sad period of slavery, and even after the abolition of the slavery, of course, racial discrimination continued, you know, to prevail in the American society, and the African Americans continued to be subjugated, continued to be oppressed, you know. So, and most of the literary works written by African Americans during that period actually reflect these themes, the themes of racism, racial discrimination, oppression of the blacks by the whites, and so on and so forth. All right, so apart from this play by August Wilson, of course, in the previous video that I uploaded analyzing non-African poem Caged Bird by Maya Angelou, you discover that the major theme in that poem is also racial discrimination, and it is about the same period in the 1950s. All right, so this period, because setting really refers to the place and time within which the actions of a work of art are situated. All right, so that is the setting of this play. Now let's have an overview of the play. An overview of the play. In the play Fences, August Wilson portrays the crisis facing an African American family in the racist American society after the Second World War. Set in the 1950s, the play examines the impact of racism on African American families, among other themes. All right? The story revolves around a crisis in Troy's family, how members of the family relate with one another, how misunderstanding creates barriers, and how betrayal breaks the bond that binds them together. Having suffered the effect of racism, knowing that his pro-baseball dreams were stopped by racial discrimination, Troy fears that racism will also ruin Corey's career in football if he goes ahead in it. His insistence that his son Corey should not pursue his dream career in football leads to irreparable damage to their relationship as father and son. Meanwhile, Troy's memories of his own father's family were those of abuse and conflict as well, which was why Troy grew up mostly motherless. Troy indicts his own father of being so evil that no woman could stay with him for long, but he himself ends up betraying his wife Rose by having an affair with Alberta. All right, so that is an overview of the play. Now let's look at the characterization. By the way, characterization is the way and manner in which an author, playwright, or novelist, as the case may be, presents the characters in their work of art. All right, so let's look at the characters in Fences by August Wilson. The major character is Troy Maxson. The play is about Troy Maxson. All right, Troy Maxson is a 53-year-old African American man living in Pittsburgh in the 1950s. He lives with his wife Rose and their 17-year-old Corey. He has an older son, Lyons, from a previous marriage. As the play opens, we discover that he is 53 years old and works with his friend Jim Bono as a garbage collector. He is described as a large man with thick, heavy hands. His memory of his father is that of an abusive father whose abuses had compelled him to leave the family at the age of 14. At the age of 14, Troy left his family to get away from his abusive father. Troy is an ex-convict, having spent 15 years in prison for allegedly robbing and killing a man. It was during his time in prison that he discovered himself as a talented baseball player. He joins the Negro Leagues after prison, but his hope of joining the major leagues is dashed owing to racial discrimination. Frustrated and embittered by racial injustices, Troy prevents his son Corey from pursuing his dream career in football. This causes the conflict that culminates in his sending Corey out of the family house. The fences he builds around his house ironically symbolize the very barriers of conflicts he himself creates between him and members of his family, especially his wife Rose, whom he betrays by having an affair with Alberta. He finally dies of heart attack. All right, we might add that, Corey is someone who also has some problem with his temper. He easily loses his temper, and we can see in some of the scenes where he's involved in a physical confrontation with his son, and also his past connection with robbing and killing a man. So all these are aspects of his character that need to be mentioned. But we can also see Troy Maxson as a victim of racial discrimination. It is true he has been convicted for criminality, yet it could be argued that he is just a product of the society. Is exactly what the American society of that period has just turned him to be. The environment actually gave the blacks no chance to realize their dreams, and most of them had no option. They had no chances of really pursuing any meaningful career, and some of them could easily resort to criminal activities as a way to survive. Of course, that cannot be justified, but sometimes you find people becoming just the products of the kind of society they grow up in. Now, the next one is Corey Maxon. He is the son of Troy and Rose. He plays football for colleges. His dream to pursue a career in football is shattered by his father, and this causes the conflict between them. Sent packing from home by his father, he later joins the Marines. He returns years later for his father's funeral, which he attends hesitantly, having intended to boycott it in revenge. Initially, he tells his mother he is not going to attend the funeral because he wants to get back at his father. But the mother has to convince him to attend the burial, and somehow we later find a sort of resolution of this conflict. Now, the next is Rose Maxon. She is Troy's wife and the mother of Corey. She wants Troy to build a fence to help protect her loved ones. After learning of Troy's infidelity, she agrees to help raise Renel, that is Troy's illegitimate child, but distances herself from her husband and devotes herself to the church. So that actually is Rose, and Rose is the person we find here who is really whom we can say is really level-headed and has actually been very loving and well-meaning, and we can say that it is her husband Troy who actually betrays her. Now, the next character is Gabriel Maxon. He is Troy's brother. He sustained an injury while he was a soldier in the Second World War and needed a metal plate surgery in his head. The mental damage done to his head makes him believe he is the Archangel Gabriel. I mean, there is a kind of mental derangement. He receives compensation money that Troy uses as part of the money he used in buying the house they live in. Gabriel later rents a room at Miss Pearl's house. He is later sent to a mental institution. After Troy dies, Gabriel tries to open the gates of heaven with his trumpet. So we can see the kind of character that Gabriel is. Of course, he has a mental problem, and that actually is the reason why he behaves the way he behaves. Now, the next character is Jim Bono, and this is Troy's best friend. He's simply called Bono. He met Troy in jail, and he works with him on the garbage truck. He is married to a woman named Lucille, and he is concerned that Troy is not being faithful to his wife. In fact, the first time we discover that Troy has actually been having an affair with Alberta, it is during the conversation between Bono and Troy. And Bono is the one who actually helps to reveal that secret. The next is Leonce Maxon. This is Troy's son, and he is a skilled musician. He was born before Troy's time in jail with a woman Troy met while living on the streets. So again, we can see one aspect of Troy's character. We can describe him as a womanizer, if you like. His affair with Alberta, gave birth to Renel, and even before that, we now learn that Leonson was born also by another woman. Now, he comes to see Troy frequently on payday to ask for money. His wife, Bonnie, leaves him after he lands in jail for counterfeiting checks. So we can see that most of the characters here have a problem that always sends them to jail, and so we can see it is all money related. That again shows that they have serious problems with their finances. Now, the next character here is Renelle Maxon. She is Troy's illegitimate child, born by Alberta. Of course, we know that Alberta dies immediately after giving birth to Renelle. Now, Alberta is Troy's lover from Tallahassee, and she is Renelle's mother, who works at the local bar, and she dies while giving birth to Renelle. Now, Bonnie is Leon's wife, who works in the laundry at Mercy Hospital. And then mention has to be made of Miss Pearl, who lives near the Maxons and rents Gabe a room. All right, so these are the characters. Now let's look at the themes. Now you need to understand that theme is a universal idea, a main idea explored or expressed in a work of art. That is theme. Now let's discuss a few of the themes in Fences. The first one is racism. One of the main themes of the play is racism. This is evident in Troy's failure to achieve success in his pro basketball career owing to racial discrimination. His fear that his son might suffer a similar experience is the reason he prevents Corey from pursuing his dream career in football, which leads to the irreparable conflict between them. In his workplace, Troy also has to deal with a situation where the black employees are not allowed to drive the garbage trucks, but we are only allowed to leave the garbage, you know, and Troy has to raise this issue with his boss. Eventually, he was later allowed to drive a truck. The next theme is parents' role in achieving family unity. You know, the play critically examines the role of parents in achieving or failing to achieve peace and harmony in the family. The conflict between Troy and his son Corey stems from Troy's failure to communicate his intentions clearly to his son. Troy uses his own past experience to decide what happens in his son's career choice. Although he means well for his son, yet he fails to communicate his love and good intention clearly enough for Corey to understand and accept. Moreover, Troy's affair with another woman not only causes severe pain to his wife, but worsens his relationship with his son as well. On the whole, Troy's actions portray him as a man who by his actions causes his own family to fall apart. Ironically, this is exactly the evils Troy has accused his own father of. He falls into the same trap of alienating his son and betraying his wife as well, thereby causing the disintegration of his own family. So the play is a critical commentary on the role of parents, especially the fathers, in achieving or failing to achieve family unity. So we can see this exactly. On the part of Rose, we can see that Rose has played her own part well, trying to ensure that the family is intact. The real culprit here is Troy. All right. Then the next theme is the theme of mortality and life after death. The theme of death is evident in Troy's story about his struggle with death. In several monologues, Troy seems to make a mockery of death. He dares death to try and take him again. When death eventually takes him, it occurs through a heart attack. This confirms that all men are mortal and that death will come when it will come. The belief in the afterlife is portrayed in the play through the impression that the gates of heaven opened for Troy so he can go in and find rest at last. Of course, we can find in the midst of that situation, Gabe playing the role of, a character that sort of brings comic relief, all right? And he dramatizes, this belief when eventually he blows his trumpet, trying to ensure that the gates of heaven open, all right? The next is the theme of betrayal. The theme of betrayal is portrayed through the character and action of Troy, who seems to have betrayed virtually everyone around him. He betrays his son by preventing him from pursuing his dream career and eventually throws him, Corey, out of his house. He betrays his wife, Rose, by cheating on her with Alberta. All right, he even also in some cases, one could see that he betrays his brother Gabriel as well. All right, so the theme of betrayal is really a prevailing theme in the play, and the culprit again is Troy. Again, we can see betrayal in the way the the American racist authorities actually betray the African Americans. Of course, we can see that the roots of the crisis in Troy's family can be attributed to the deprivations that he suffers in the hands of the racist authorities in the American society. All right, so he is deprived of his chances of realizing his potential, and that actually restricts him, that limits him, and that keeps him struggling, and that keeps him frustrated, and that adds to the conflicts and the crisis in his home. So betrayal by the white dominated society is also very evident in the play. All right, so now the next theme, which is one of the major themes, is shattered dreams. Troy's dream of making a successful career as a pro basketball player is shattered owing to racial discrimination. This bitter experience causes Troy himself to prevent his son Corey from realizing his dream of becoming a successful football player. In other words, the playwright paints a clear picture of how the shattered dreams of one generation can help to shatter the dreams of the next generation. It is also evident that Rose has the desire to enhance the safety and harmony of her family through the building of fences. However, this dream of a secure and safe family is shattered when she realizes that her husband has been cheating on her and has already fathered a new child from a strange woman. So shattered dreams all the way. Now let's look at the conflict. Conflict is a major thing in a play because it is conflict that moves the plot, and conflict is really the major element of drama because that is actually what retains the interest of the audience, who will always want to know what is going to happen next or how a particular conflict is going to be resolved. And here comes suspense. So conflict is used as a device in the play Fences, and it is what really moves the plot. The conflict between Troy and Corey, the conflict generated by Troy's affair with Alberta, the psychological pain it causes Troy's wife Rose, the pregnancy, childbirth, and sudden death of Alberta, all these are aspects of conflict in the play. And where you have conflict, the product of conflict is suspense. Each of the conflicts in the play creates suspense. Suspense is created while the disagreement between Troy and his son continue to increase culminating in open confrontations. Suspense is created when the affair between Troy and Alberta becomes known, and one wonders what is going to happen or how Rose is going to react to it. There is suspense when it is discovered that Alberta is pregnant and expecting a child for Troy. There is suspense when Alberta dies after giving birth to Troy's child. Suspense is usually a product of conflict, and it makes the play more interesting as it keeps the readers or audience wondering what is going to happen next or how a certain character is going to react to a given situation. This is evident in the tensions that build up in connection with Troy's affair. When Alberta dies in childbirth, Rose surprisingly but reluctantly agrees to nurse the child, but announces that she is no longer Troy's woman. The situation causes an open fight between Troy and Corey, and culminates in Troy sending his son packing from the house. There is more suspense on the day of Troy's funeral. Corey returns home but makes it clear to his mother that he's not going to attend the funeral. Eventually, it is resolved, but we can see these are aspects of conflict and the suspense that always follows in its way. All right? So finally, we look at denouement. Denouement refers to the final resolution of a conflict or when a serious problem is solved in a literary work. This is evident when the tensions eventually go down and Corey and Renel join together to sing a song that their father used to sing when he was alive. Since the two are singing the song in honor of their father, their actions suggest that Corey has finally forgiven his father. All right, so this is how it has been in today's video. And as we draw the curtain, I hope you have enjoyed today's video. If you have, make sure you subscribe to the channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. Click on the bell icon as well, so that whenever I upload a new video, you will be notified instantly. If you have any questions, any suggestions, any concerns, leave them in the comment section below. I look forward